So there's an actual way to put emulsion on the screen, and it can be pretty sloppy, and it doesn't matter. Like as you can see inside of those, it's just kind of unsloppy. But at the same time, I did it really unevenly up here at the top, right? So we're going to make sure that the image is right in the middle area anyway. So really, why that matters is just obviously it's thicker than, you know, the paint down here. That's more layers. So if that was actually in the middle of the screen, I probably wouldn't attempt it because that light has to burn through a thicker part compared to a more opaque part. Can you guys make that out? Yeah? Yeah, so that part there. So, you know, we have this to work with here.
So do you just smooth it on with your hand, or do you have like a scoop roller?
Yeah, that's what I was going to show you guys right now. There's a couple of things that you can do. This is something that I'm actually, because of doing these workshops, I've actually just been encouraged to really get back into making more art and more t-shirts with SilkScreening. So what I did is I went and invested on something that has and it's kind of like the Green Destiny, if anybody ever saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So it's this amazing little thing, and I saw it on a video, and what you do is just pull this off of here, and it's just really kind of like this uniquely made piece just for that. Like the SilkScreening people just made these a couple of years ago. And really what it does is for you to, you can use this to put paint, and in this case the photo emulsion in there. So what you do is going to pour the emulsion in there as such. And once that photo emulsion is in there, I think this is too wide. This fits my screen is why I bought it. So what you would do, I can still show you the back. What you would do is you put this at an angle, and the great thing about this is that this tip here, which is going to go along your screen, and then this part here, there's actually a tiny little gap, so it doesn't run flat across it. This part is actually sticking out a little bit. And what you do, all you do is you put right where you want to start, and you drip your emulsion this way, and you just roll it straight up, and so forth. And you should get like one clean coat of paint. And I did, we didn't use this on that other one earlier. And so I figured trying to make this technique just as easy, and it is possible because I did it earlier, and I did it like in one chingazo earlier on that one there. And so I just used the same, I used the squeegee in the exact same vein. I just put the actual emulsion on here with a spoon, and then I put it on the bottom of the screen, and then I let it all evenly come down, and then I just went straight up. The way we did this, the way we did the paint the last time, that's, you do it the exact same way. You just turn it around, did the same thing, and just brought the screen up, and it was just a coat, and it wasn't super even because this is the result here. Again, my first attempt in a few years, so this is what came out of it. But I learned as I finished it, I know what I could have done by applying, by not letting my squeegee go. The way I talked to you guys when you guys were doing the actual squeegee pull is not to lift it up on your way up. It's like you got to keep it even, and that's where I went wrong. And doing the squeegee, I should have just kept it straight up instead of doing this. And that's where I got the excess photo emulsion there. So as soon as the photo emulsion is put on the screen, again, I put it in the closet to dry. It took a little bit longer. The guy at the Herwigs today mentioned the importance of the weather. Of course, the humidity has a lot to do with it. And I have an old house and my windows are open and stuff, so it was pretty sticky in my house today for sure. He says an average about an hour, you should have your photo emulsion ready to go dry and used and ready to actually burn the screen itself. But it's taken a little bit more than an hour to do for sure. Like you guys can see, still there's a layer of wet there. Like I said, we're gonna burn the screen regardless of that. So there's two ways that you can also burn the screen. There's putting the image on top, the way I just showed you, your paper, then the glass, and then exposing it, from above. And then there's the backwards way also. The thing about the backwards way is that you're going to have to and I'm sure you know this, but I'm just going to repeat it. Your image has to be upside down, of course. You know, so instead of, we're going to put that downside up. I asked him if there was a difference in burning the screen because the black is on this side of the paper as compared to the back of the paper, and he says it doesn't matter. He says the black is just to keep the heat of the lamp from directly touching, or not directly touching, but exposing that photo emulsion in that area. So whereas as long as you have the glass on top of it and you're doing it backwards like that, it doesn't matter. So that's something I thought about. So I made sure and asked him about that. And so SilkScreening has changed. You kind of gave me a really good, thorough thing on more than the research that I've been able to do online. I was talking to this guy today, getting all these supplies, and that these photo emulsions have changed throughout. Just like anything else, every 5-10 years, there's new photo emulsions. The one that we used to use back then was a red, pinkish one. And then that kind of phased out. And then there's one that's solid green, which my friend who lent me the screen is the kind of emulsion that he used, and that's the one that's made for pretty permanent stuff. And again, after 2 years, it was really hard to take off. So he says anywhere about 3 to 4 months is where in a 3 to 4 month time period is where you have a good chance of like it coming off immediately. Maybe after 4 months and you still have that emulsion on there, you decide to take it off, you're gonna do a little scrubbing, nothing impossible, but within the 3 or 4 month period is when you can spray it, let it sit, hose it, and not have to do anything to it. And so he made sure to mention that to everybody. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about the screen? Anybody have any questions so far?
Does Herrick rescreen the frames as well?
Yeah, they do. They do. And if like I said, it's really easy to make your own frame for sure. Like if you want to make your own frame, just by like getting you don't even have to do this in depth. Just go, because as long as the screen is stretched properly on the frame, like that's what's going to be the best. It doesn't matter what kind of.
Like if you got messed up or a hole got punctured through.
Yeah, and he says it costs about $10 to $12 for them to do that for you, instead of paying for another screen. And I don't know how much these screens are. $16.95 for this screen, and that's also because this is metal. There's aluminum. There's the wooden frames that I use. That's what I brought last time, and that would be probably at least $3 or $4 cheaper than this one would be. You had a question?
No, I'm sorry. I'm probably gonna go back, but
that's okay.
I'm just trying to think about it in terms kind of like a little bit of photography, but the emotion, is that like the sensitivity?
It's kind of like back to like it's really what we're doing is we're and I don't know much about photography other than the general that's really what you're doing, exposing a picture by putting it in some sort of chemical, right? Then you put it in another one, then after you can't have any light, so it's the film. So really, like this is your film from your camera,
Like the negative. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's your negative, your little film roll piece, and then you're putting it on there. And like I said, instead of just dipping it in with a spoon and doing this to it and rubbing your paper on it into the water, this is the actual image transfer. So it's kind of like, in a sense, definitely like, I mean, obviously like a red light really helps, and that's why we were going to do it during the day again, the workshop, but it's no sunlight now. You're going to walk around the house making sure that I put a towel on the window and everything, just to make sure that there wasn't too much sunlight coming in. Again, you can have a small light like this when you're working with it. And so now, just before we actually attempt to burn the screen, because we're all in on this together here, I think the last thing that I wanted to touch up on how that works is so after you've put your image on there, and put the screen down, we're going to put a clamp light on it. I have an 150 watt flood lamp bulb. And actually, let me finish off